Okay, now people are starting to join, so we will wait another few seconds and we will start our webinar. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Hussain. I'm a regional sales engineer in Qatar office in Hager Middle East team. Before starting to talk about webinar topic today, just let me tell you this. You will be on a listening mode. So at the end of the presentation, you will have a Q&A, question and answer slot. You can type your question at the chat box on your right side, and we will have enough time, hopefully, to cover everything. In case you face any connectivity issue, please try to use Chrome or the latest versions of the web server. Okay, here we go. Our topic today is dimming and LED lighting, the recommended practices. Why we have prepared this webinar? Because of the number of technical inquiries we usually receive. As you know, Hager have a building automation system solutions and conventional solutions related to the lighting control and home automation systems. Usually in every project, in case there is dimming, in case there is LED lighting, contractors, consultants, system integrators, the people who install the systems have some questions on this. It was an evolving topic in the past 10 years at least, and it's becoming a must to cover all technicalities in the projects. What we are talking today, our agenda will come as following. Why dimming is important and required in projects. We will see some of the points which are important. The second one is who is asking for the dimming? Who are the people who ask for dimming? Third point will be a bit technical. We will go in some technicalities, types of dimming, what are the kinds of dimmings. Number 4, what best fits LED loads. Here in this section, we will do the link between dimming and LED lighting. Number 5, we will speak about the performance and issues, what we need to take care of, and what we may face in the project. Number 6, we will have some recommendations and some technical tips. And finally, we will go through standards and specifications. So here we start. Why dimming is important and required. Basically, or just simply, dimming follows the lighting installation in every project, and it have a vital role in the electrical components package. We know, and mostly lighting designers know, and consultants know, that the light level in every space is important. It is not the point where we install the light fitting and that's it. No, we want to make sure that this light fitting delivers the required output for the look sensitivity or the light sensitivity, in other words. The impact or the output, the significant output, sometimes we don't consider, but as we are working in this industry and as we are going deep into details, we know that it have an important role to take care. One of them is enhance space, ambience, and flexibility. All of us went into a restaurant where he was disturbed by the light, the full brightness of the lights. Anybody of us also can have dimming or lighting, which is very bright in his home, in his bedroom, and in his living room. Sometimes we don't know what's the importance of dimming unless we use it. most of our homes, we have either switch on or switch off. So we don't experience the low level of dimming, how it affects our mood, how it affects our comfort inside our home. So this is what we mean by the ambience and the flexibility. Second one, it increased the visual task performance. We are speaking here about workplaces. We are speaking here about our kitchens in our homes. We are speaking here about museums. We are speaking here about shows, paint shows, or others. So we want to make sure that we are delivering, or not. We want to make sure it's a must to be delivering the correct light level in all these spaces. How we are going to do so? By dimming. So in many areas, it is mandatory to have it. The third one, this is the most common one, or this is what people, when they hear dimming, okay, it's saving energy. This is an important part and the basic one. So we save energy. I will speak about, for example, or for instance, the GCC countries in the Middle East. So lighting comes second in energy consumption and projects after, of course, the HVAC. So installing dimming systems for the lighting can preserve for you an average of 30% in saving. So this is an important value we need to take care of. Of course, people started shifting from normal lighting to LED, but still we can do more. Since we have the utilities, or since we have the products and devices in our hand, we need to use them. Who is asking for dimming? So it's everybody in the project. We can receive the question from anybody. We start from the interior designers, the lighting designers and consultants, architects, end users and owners, and facility and utility management. Why interior designer ask, or how? Because they know that the light, the correct light, okay, interpret color and space. We see in every designed home, a well-designed home, that there is many details concerned with the lighting. We need to decrease the brightness here and there. We need to choose the correct color temperature here and there. We can do that with dimming, and dimming is the correct tool to do so. For lighting designer and consultants, of course, they want to achieve the best lighting performance and the best lighting output. The lighting designer asks for this. It's very important for him. And of course, the consultant as well. He needs to meet the standards. Sometimes it is mandatory to use dimming to gain some points, for example, in the GSAS in Qatar, or for the lead star ranking, or all over the world. So they use dimming as an important tool in every project. Architects, why they want dimming? Many times we see some very nice facade lighting or very nice facade design. If the light is very bright, it will cover or have a or we will have a misinterpret. We will not see the design lines in a good way. So architects use dimming technology to adjust the light levels in their projects, especially in the facade. There is a lot of application we are working on in this domain. End users, like us, in our homes or in our offices, why we want dimming? To improve our mood and productivity. As we mentioned at the beginning, once we experience dimming in our homes, we will touch the comfort level for us. And of course, being in control is important. So this is how it concerns end users. Facility and utility management, of course, energy efficiencies and saving, peak load shedding, demand response. So they use dimming techniques to accomplish these topics. Type of dimming. This is an interesting part. It will be a little bit technical. We start. Okay, just to give you two categories of dimming. We have the coincident AC power and control signal, where we only have power line, like line and neutral. We don't have any control cable or control wires separate. And we have the other category, which is the separate AC power and control signal, like the 1 to 10, the LE and the MX and others. So we will start with the first one, which is the phase cut. In phase cut itself, it have two types. It have the phase cut leading edge and the trailing edge. Or in other words, or other people know, the forward and the reverse. It started in the phase cut leading edge. It was initially launched before to control incandescent lights and normal magnetic low voltage transformers. It was also named as triac dimmers. In many areas, we can read it as triac dimmer. Why it's triac? Because this is the electronic component used as a switch element to switch on and off the light. It have a high minimum load, okay? So we cannot go too much low in the minimum load, so it is not very suitable for LED. We will come to know more on this point in the dimming performance and issues. As you see, it controls the beginning of the sinusoidal, sinusoidal wave of the power. It is cheaper and simpler. So leading edge dimmers are usually cheaper. So this is what we face in the market. The second one, the phase cut trailing edge dimmer or the reverse dimmer. If we can say that this is an upgraded version of the forward dimmer. Why? It covers capacitive loads, electronic low voltage transformers, LED drivers, and incandescent. It doesn't use triac as a switching element. It uses MOSFET and IGBT transistors. So it will be more smooth, it will be silent, and the buzzing noise will be absent. The buzzing noise, whoever works in this industry or passed by a dimmer panel long time before, or 6 years back or more, and even still now, we can listen and we can hear the buzzing sound of the dimmer. We will experience a high noise in our installation. This is because it's not a trailing edge dimmer. Also, it have a lower minimum load than the leading edge dimmer. So it make the phase dimming more matching for the LED. Okay. One of the points that people miss, that it requires a neutral wire. At the beginning of the dimmers, in the dimming actuator, let's say, we were not having a neutral terminal. Now, if you look at the universal dimmers or the trailing edge dimmers, you will find a neutral terminal on the dimmer itself. So this is one of the points that we can say straight, this is a trailing edge dimmer. Going to the second category, which is the separate AC power and control signal. The famous one is the 0 to 10 and 1 to 10. Just to also highlight the difference between 0 to 10 and 1 to 10. They are the same, but the 0 to 10, you can go down by the control signal to 0 volt, so you can switch off the light. In the 1 to 10 volt, the minimum control signal is 1 volt, and you will have a separate relay to switch off the light. So it's the same, basically. It depends on the design of the dimmer. It's a one-way communication. It was first introduced to control the FLIO lighting. In the past, our fluorescent lighting, the indirect lighting, the cove lighting, in other words, they are used to be controlled by 0 to 10 volt dimmers. Okay, simply, it's a DC signal from 0 to 10 volt, and whatever you put the value, it's respectively reflecting on the light output, which is from 0% to 100%. It's cost effective if you want a separate AC power control signal, but it adds on wiring cost. Of course, adding control wires to the project will add on the cost on the contractor or the owner of the house. It has some limitation in performance in case of wire runs. So we usually recommend not to exceed 50 meters between the dimmer and the dimmer 0 to 10 volt driver of the lighting. The second one, which is the famous DALI. Of course, every one of us knows DALI. It's a digital addressable lighting interface. It's a standalone protocol and system, so it's available by its own or it's available through gateways with KNX installations. Okay. It's a two-way communication system, so the device, the DALI device, the DALI driver will report failure or status on/off. It can have a 64 devices per line. The line shall not exceed 300 meters. Of course, when designing such systems, we know that if we exceed these limitations, we need to add splitters or repeaters in the projects. The DALI devices can be programmed individually and operates in groups, which gives you a high flexibility in the control. But on the other side, it will consume more time in commissioning and programming and installation. The DALI drivers cost more than the 1 to 10 volt drivers. So this is one of the important points we need to keep in mind. It's polarity free, different than the 1 to 10 or the DMX, which will come later. The second or the third one in the separate AC power and control signal is the DMX, which is the abbreviation, I think, of digital multiplex. 512 is related to the number of channels. Some of the DMX drivers have 3 channel, 4 channel, some have 12 channels, so it depends on the lighting components. It's a standard protocol for digital communication. It's used mainly to control stage lighting and theatrical effects. So mostly and everywhere we see moving heads, changing lights in studios, it's a DMX system. In our homes, it's used to change the color of the LED, as simple as it is. Its installation is a bit more complicated than others. Why? Because it uses only daisy chain wiring. Daisy chain wiring means that the input is different than the output terminal. You have plus terminal and you have minus terminal, and you have 3 of both, so you have 6. It follows the RS485 standard. The connectors, as you see here, this male and female connectors, usually it's like this. And not to miss this point, each device needs to be addressed manually to a DMX channel. You need to go to every DALI, or sorry, to every DMX driver or device, and you need to manually put the address on it. This is not the end of the types of dimming. We still have pulse width modulation. Of course, pulse width modulation known to control the speed of motors and drivers and many things. It's also used to control dimming. It is essentially noise-free. Sometimes there is some concerns on the performance with the electromagnetic interference. It's still there in many kind and technologies of dimmers. There is one type of dimming which is quite interesting. Many people don't know about it. It is the push dimming technology with just a driver. You can do a dimming application, or you can install dimming in your home with just a driver. You don't need a dimmer actuator by itself. But it will cost you more, of course, and you will have a very limited application. Yeah, you cannot have a big installation or all your home. Simply you connect a push button to the push terminal in the driver, as you see in this picture, and by long press and short press you will be able to control your dimmer. Now going to the LED lighting. After we covered the type of dimmers, we need to speak about LED. What is LED? So we know LED, light emitting diode. Why we shifted for LED? Why normal people, or why people, end users, let's call them, or owners, what do they know about LED? Long lifespan. Directly they think in that way. Or energy, low energy consumption. Okay. So it's famous for these two. Of course, lighting professionals and people who work in this industry know that LED also have many aspects and features in terms of CRI, which is the color rendering index, and on the CT, which is the color temperature of each lighting. Usually, LED are installed in two ways: either direct to the AC, and you don't have a driver or a power supply. This is called the retrofit. This is the retrofit. You change you remove your incandescent or halogen bulb, and you bring your E14 or your GU10 bulb, and you install it directly in your spotlight or in your chandelier. This is retrofit. And the second one, which is more common and more advised, to have a driver or a power supply. What's the type of the load of the dimmer? We need to know that. Why? To find the compatibility between the dimmers. Okay, basically and simply, it's a nonlinear load. Why? Because we have in each LED bulb or transformer, we have capacitive and inductive components, which is make it a nonlinear load. Why we have a driver? The driver is installed there to rectify the voltage from AC to DC, of course, to regulate the voltage on the bulb or on the light, and of course to protect from different fluctuation. And by the way, having LED lights with drivers will have a long lifespan than direct to AC. The driver sometimes, or obviously, it will protect the light. This is an interesting point. What dimmer shall be selected? Actually, I have run this question on LinkedIn a while ago just to see the feedback of the people. And it's important to say here that whoever asked or answered for this question is a professional, is a person who works in this domain. So we can see that there's no one answer. There is DALI, there's 1 to 10, and there's phase dimmers. People recommend all of them sometimes, but we need to take care of many points. For example, DALI system, it gained the highest value, but the DALI system, people needs to know that DALI ballast or DALI driver cost more, and they need to know that, of course they know, but just to let the owners know that the project wiring status needs to be taken into consideration. You cannot come into a project and you have only a DALI system you want to sell, for example. This is from selling point of view, and you recommend this. It does not fit. It's not suitable. So you need to go for other solution. Phase dimming, for example, if you have retrofit, you will find the correct phase dimmer and you install it 1 to 10, 0 to 10. So it depends on your application. It depends on your project. And of course, we keep in mind that always before recommending or using a dimmer, we check what lighting is installed. We ask for the lighting schedule. We ask for the light fitting. We get this material. So we know more on this. I will pass quickly about what Hager can offer, just to keep in mind and have it in our projects. We have 3 categories: standalone panel installed dimmers, standalone wall mounted, and my interesting part, the smart building automation solutions. So in the standalone dimmers, these are the DIN rail dimmers available in Hager. They are available in different capacities, and they are available in phase dimming and 1 to 10. Okay. These are universal dimmers. Speaking about universal, this universal means it is a trailing and it's a forward and a reverse dimmer, so it covers both. It's LED compatible. How it is connected? Simply push button connected to the push button terminal on the dimmer. Short press will turn your light on and off, and long press will increase and decrease the brightness. And of course, it have the manual control on the dimmer itself. You can select the minimum load, high load, and other features. The second one, which comes from our German-made Berker solution, the wiring accessories. We have 2 types. We have the rotary dimmer, the normal one, and we have the push button dimmer. These are also universal. They are LED compatible. They come with a protection against short circuit. They come with a protection against electronic over temperature, electronic over temperature protection. So this comes in a very high quality, and we usually recommend them, and they are installed in many projects, and their performance is very high. KNX, smart home automation systems and lighting control systems. On the right side, you can see our solution. Our phase dimmers are also universal, so they are forward and reverse dimming. Okay, they comes in 1 channel, 2 channel, 3 channel, 4 channel. They are multi-phase, and they come in different capacities, 300 and 600 watts, and they are cascadable. Like you can put the channels in parallel, and you can increase or double the load. We will come on the next slide to see more information on the load. Also, we have the 1 to 10 volt, of course, and we have the daily gateway. So we have mostly all the solutions that the projects need. To give you more information about the loading of the dimmer, it's very important whenever we have a dimmer to read its data sheet before installing it or selling it. We need to be aware what we are selling to the client, not to have a big headache in the projects and not to have problems. Okay, I will just highlight this one here. You see here, there's LED. So, and here there's LED. And we have different kind of capacities. What's the difference? And what's the limitations? Okay, so the first one, it's for normal halogen or normal incandescent or electronic transformer, dimmable drivers. Okay, so we call it, some people call it RC mode. Okay, we can go up to 2400 watt for halogen, but for LED we need to make sure that 2400 is not compatible with LED. We need to know that. Of course, you know, LED have a very high inrush current, and there is no installation that will have a 2400 watt LED. So what do we look at? We look at the number of drivers. We shall not exceed 28 drivers to have the correct performance. Of course, this is not like if you put 29 or 30, your dimmer will not work, but this is the recommendation. So it's basically the call of the system installer or the system integrator. And the other one is the direct retrofit dimmers. 480, we can reach up to 480. We will speak later about the loading rule in the other slides. Leading LED dimming and performance. Okay, 3 points here. First, compatibility, very obvious. Second, the quality of the dimmer. Third, the quality of the LED light fitting and driver. So just to put this in percentage-wise, okay, whenever you have a performance thing on an issue, 10% is of course, this is the professional or the designer or the system integrator. He needs to make sure the compatibility is good. And the quality of the dimmers plays 20% in the responsibility of the dimming performance. And mostly, this is, we are speaking here about experience, about projects. Mostly the quality of LED light carry, like, let's say average 70% responsibility in this. Each one of them. Compatibility, as simple as that. Correct dimmer for correct lighting load. We need to check what kind of dimmer, and we need to check what kind of load. Straightforward. Second, quality of the dimmer. It's very important here. Dimmers are not like a normal device that we can buy it without going into details. It can be complicated for the end user, but as a system integrator, as a solution provider, we need to know which supplier we are buying from and we are selling to the customer. Okay, there is many elements we need to take care of. The switching elements, which is covering the type of switching element. Is it REAC? Is it MOSFET? Is it something reverse? So it goes to the phase dimming, for example, or other dimmers. Time element, which covers if you have a dimmer with multi-channel and you want to open them all together, so are they opening at the same time with a very high inrush current, or there is some gap of millisecond between each channel, so it will protect your dimmer. Standby elements, which is what is the status of the dimmer? What is your dimmer doing while in off mode? We will know that in the issues later. And stands overload and overheating. Overload, a lot of suppliers in the market sell dimmers without overload protection. The consultant doesn't know, the contractor doesn't know, the end user doesn't know. And
Hello, this is Thomas, the host and moderator for this session. I'm sorry, it seems we've lost Hussain, but please be patient. He's joining again. He will be back in a few seconds.
sorry, guys. Is it good now?
Hussain. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, here we go. So I don't know where we ended up, but we were speaking about switching elements, standby elements, and stands overload. The overload, I will repeat it. Many dimmers in the market comes without overload protection. It's very dangerous to install it on our projects. Rarely to match the load in a project. We always change the dimmer. We always split the circuit. So we need to take care of. And there is a lot of competition or competitors in the market that sell solution with the dimmers. It's low cost, so they get the project. Okay, we don't win the project, and we are happy that the contractor will experience this, and he will come back to us. He will ask us what happened, why the dimmer is busted, why it is, why we got this fire incident. Because simply you got a low quality dimmer without overload protection, and you got the fire. As simple as it is. And of course, we need to make sure these dimmers complies with standards. Okay, there is a declaration of conformity, there is certifications, there is test certificates. So we need to make sure these dimmers at least match one of these standards. Quality of LED, 70% of the responsibility. I can say that with a full confidence. As per our experience, again, we are not shooting at lighting suppliers, but as per our experience, the responsibility is, the biggest responsibility is on the lighting. Thanks God, since 7 years or since 5 years till now, it was upgraded in a very nice way. Now a lot of LED suppliers or a lot of lighting suppliers have perfect products, but the customer, the contractor, and the lighting designer, he needs to make sure he's installing a good quality LED from a branded supplier, okay, and with some of the good characteristics. One of them is the dimming range. Many times we are surprised. Okay, you put your 0 to 10 or your daily to 10%, and the light is still 70% or 50%. The light will not go down. So it's not the problem with the dimmer. Of course, on-site project teams know the fights that happens because why it's the dimmer, it's the light. So we need to know that. Of course, also the dimmer curve and the dimmer smoothness. If we change the dimmer, is it respectively going? And if you change 1, 2, 3 volt, is it going 10, 20, 30%, or it is jumping with a random? So the jumping with the random values. We need to know that. The normal rule is cheap LED lights and drivers always have poor performance. Always. So we need to expect that in the projects. Coming to the issues, you will be surprised of how many issues we have in the LED. Personally, I have experienced most of them. I used to be a project engineer or a system programmer. So I went to sites, I programmed many lights, and I saw it with my bare eye. Flickering, it's very famous, it's flickering. Modulation of light output, okay? Flashing, where you will have, when you are controlling the light, it will go on and off, okay? Ghosting, interesting issue, but sometimes when you put your dimmer off, you can still see one of the dimmers, at least one. Usually the last LED light, it still have a 5% or 10% light, so you get confused what's going on. So this is called ghosting, and it is usually from it can be usually solved by some of the tricks we will mention later. Also, we'll have pop on and pop off issues. This is follows the minimum maximum programmed or selected brightness of the dimmer. Sometimes if the brightness is too low, the dimmer will not work, or if the brightness is very high, the dimmer will not work. So this also follows the LED fitting. The LED driver depends on the quality. So it's an issue here. It's not the end. We have drop out. We have popcorn. Popcorn, it will light. LED dimming will go randomly on and off. We have dead travel. Okay, so wherever you adjust your light brightness, it will not reflect on the lighting, even though it is written dimmable. We forgot to mention in the LED, you need always to read dimmable. So not to forget this point. Drop out, no light put output at the bottom of the dimming range. So when you go down, there's no light output. If you decrease to 40% pop, suddenly it goes off. Technical tips and recommendations. This is not textbook. It is as per our experience. You can use it, you cannot. Maybe you will not have the possibility to use them, but we'll see. We start with the design phase. Of course, maximum and minimum load of lighting circuit. We need to know that. What's the maximum? What's the minimum? Second, the cable run and the number of devices in a separate control wire signal are like daily 1 to 10. We need to make sure we are not exceeding the limitations. If we exceed the limitation, performance will go down and many problems will go down. The dimmer loading rule, again, this is not a textbook. This is like something you can use it quickly in your project, that just to make sure you are on the safe side. If you have a 300 watt dimmer, it's not 300 watt dimmer for LED. Please take care of this. It is, for example, for the retrofit, it's 60 watt for LED. If the dimmer is if compatible is not, it's 60 watt. So me myself, when somebody asks me directly, I divide by 5. And this is what in Hager solution, if I have a 300 watt one channel dimmer for halogen, okay, it's 60 watt for LED. Panel installers. Sometimes the panel or the lighting control panel, the enclosure, it get crowded with many dimming actuators. Sometimes we add, okay, we understand that. We need to make sure that the panel installer needs to make sure to keep gap between the dimmers. Why? Because if he install it completely without gaps, you will have overheating and you will have dimming issues later on. The second thing, of course, consultants take care of this point, of course. The second thing of consultants and contractors always prefer universal dimmers. A lot of projects now are still installed with either forward or trial, or there is universal dimmers. The technology is there and the products is there. Please use universal dimmers. You will get rid of a lot of headache and you will get your project go smooth. And you can say that the dimmer, it have a neutral terminal, so it's a new technology. So always ask the supplier, always ask different suppliers what's their opinion. It's not sometimes the supplier or the manufacturer, he want to sell you a product, especially in non-Canex products. Okay, they want to sell you a closed proprietary system where the dimmer is not universal. We still see it. We are in 2020 and we still see it. One of the important points, the neutral wire for lighting circuits, not for on the dimmer side, in the lighting level. Okay, a lot of fights happen in this. The contractor does not want to install in separate neutral for every wire. Okay, from his point of view, we understand, because he need to not to increase his cost. He's paying this from his pocket. You know, they take a lump sum sometimes. So what's the importance of that? Common neutral wire do or have an interaction. It happens. There is a common neutral interaction. This is what is written. So what happens? Voltage spike goes from one circuit to another. It affects the second dimmer. What's the consequences of having one neutral for different dimming circuits? Despite from the dimmer and despite from the LED, well, it have flickering. It can have flashing. It will be flashing. Or when you adjust one circuit, the other one will be affected. Like if you reduced one channel to 10 volt, the second one you will see that it goes down. So this is what we see in separate neutral wires or common neutral wires. We need to install separate neutral wires for lighting or dimmable lighting circuits. Some of the tips and tricks, I use it in my projects sometimes where I'm obliged to deal with the realistic fact that the lighting is installed and it's flickering. So what I try to lower the maximum brightness, the dimmer. If it is 100% it's flickering, I reduce it to 80%. It will, the frequency will change, of course, and the dimmer will have no flickering. So it's reduce the brightness, or sometimes increase the minimum brightness, so the minimum load level. The other one, which is for ghosting, mainly, there is a load detection signal always sent by the universal dimmer. The dimmer in the standby mode, which is the standby element, it sends a load detection to know this is capacitive, this is inductive, this is LED. So this signal sometimes creates some issues. You can either turn it off, or you can select it by your manually by your programmer. This is, we are speaking here about ETS, KNX, home automation and lighting control. Also, this is same for the dimming, the ghosting, okay, where you will have one light which is showing a low brightness, 5% or 10%. It's either if your dimmer have the option to switch off load detection, you switch it off. If not, okay, you come with a driver and you install it at the end of the circuit and you put it above the false ceiling. Don't tell anybody, but do it. It will solve your problem. Finally, the standards and specifications. Of course, each region in the world have a different standards. Mostly, it's IEC. Okay, and BSEN in Africa also, and in Turkey, in the Middle East, and in Europe, in UK. So what standards to see? I will go briefly into this. Our dimming devices, or the dimmers, have already developed and active standards, and they have the test certificates, and they have the conformities, necessary conformities. What's still under evolution, or it's evolving every year, and every year we are having new standards or new. When we say new, it's not an upgrade; it's a brand new standard. So always check for LED lighting. Specification. I will go through a few. Okay. Multi-channel, multi-phase. Okay, always keep it in multi-phase. Sometimes we buy a dimmer and it is low cost and it is monophase. You cannot install different phases. So you are stuck in your project. The second one, don't allow mixed loads in the circuit. Conventional transformers and electronic transformers. Well, we're not speaking about the one where we install the dummy load at the end. It's only one transformer to absorb the load signal. Here we are speaking about if you have 12 or 20 or 50 transformers and you installed half of them magnetic, half of them electronic. Nowadays we know that lighting drivers are going towards electronic. But we need to keep this in mind. I'll go quickly because I think I'm out of time. Dimmer actuators needs to be universal. They need to handle RLC loads, resistive, inductive, and capacitive. And if you have a lighting control system, make sure these dimmers have features like you can control the brightness, maximum, minimum. This is very good to solve some problems. Last word. I finished here, I think. Always test. make sure you test your light. It's good. Sometimes you don't have time, but please, if you can just save 1 week or get 1 week from the contractor, please get the lights and get your dimmer and test it in your office or your workshop. Show it to the consultant, show it to the contractor. You have a green light, go and install. So this is always recommended, and this is always what we say to our partners and customers. I think I finished now on 1:45, so it is on our perfect timing. Now we go for questions. Thomas will take it up from here, and he will start to display the questions one by one. No, they cannot all be dimmed. They need to be dimmable. This is number one. And as we mentioned in the quality or in the dimming on the performance, we need to make sure that if it is retrofit, the lamp you can read it on the packaging, dimmable or non-dimmable, or the driver is dimmable or non-dimmable. So not all LED lights can be dimmed. Yes, this is what we mentioned, that it's the same. The 0 to 10 volt dimmer, when you can go down by the rotary, let's say, to 0 volt in your control signal. The 0 volt will switch your light off, while in 1 to 10 you can go down minimum to 1 volt. The light brightness will be 10%, and then you switch off a relay. So the 1 to 10 volt comes with a relay. This is mostly, by the way, this is mostly used, 1 to 10 volt. So in the dimmer, if you look at the dimmer, you will see a relay for line and neutral, and you will see a 1 to 10 volt control signal. But basically, they are the same. Our RF modules, basically, and the wireless products like TRM, we have, as you know, in Hager, we have a RF system, radio frequency based system, used for retrofit, used for wireless applications. The dimmer capacity of this is 200 watt, and 200 watt, it's not for LED. We need to take care of this point. We always recommend to check the data sheet of this. It will one of the slides I've mentioned that there is a different. If it is RC mode, it can cover 200 watt. If it's not, and mostly it's not, okay, then you need to divide it by 60, which is 40 watts. So we need to always check the data sheet of each module we are buying. What is the maximum 0 to 10 volt ballast? Numbers can be used for any circuits. Usually we don't recommend more than 30. But of course, on site, I'm always saying that, in our industry, it's not, if you install 35, it can work. Maybe it can work. So usually we don't recommend to go above 30 drivers, okay? Always take care, because why? We mentioned, if you look back at there is a 50 meters as a cable run and 50 milliampere as a control signal. So if you exceeded this control signal, you will have dimming performance. Each one of the driver will consume a control signal like 5 milliampere, or I'm not sure on this number, I need to check, but there is a limitation of 50 milliampere control signals. So this will reflect on the number of 0 to 10 volt drivers or ballasts. By the way, it's drivers. We have good questions. The complete downlight with driver, you suggested that the driver to be universal, the dimmer, so it can be work with 0 to 10 or daily or triac. No, for phase dimming it's different, but there is drivers in the market. I will mention one. It's TCI, for example. It's one of the branded LED drivers. It can come with either 0 to 10 or daily, but it is not it comes with a relatively higher price than others. So you will have either phase dimming is separate, and for 0 to 10 orderly, yes, you can have one driver with 0 to 10 orderly. Ask your lighting supplier; he will assist you on that, and he will give you options. Heavier loads. I'm not sure if you are speaking about here about LED lighting, because LED lighting, of course, there is no circuit that can handle 2,000 or 3,500 watt for LED. Why? Because LED lights have a very inrush current, very high inrush current, and usually you have limitation on the MCB. Before going to the dimmer, the MCB have a certain limitation on the LED. But let's speak about high loads in halogen, for example, or electronic transformers. In Hager, the maximum load you can handle in phase dimming is 2,400. Okay, in case you have a circuit which is 3,500, which is many times you need to know that the utility in the same country does not allow this load. Sometimes you cannot exceed this load. You need to split the circuit. We face it many times. We split the circuit because sometimes you are running a 2.5 mm, so you need to take care of the limitation on the wires and of the dimmers. There is in the market so that the forward dimmers or the phase dimming that you can have a 5,000 watt dimmer. Okay, but of course it's not trailing. It's a leading edge. You can have 5,000 watt. You can have 4,000 watt. It is and some dimmer manufacturers have it, but it's mostly used in non-residential buildings like stage lighting or stadiums or something like this. So speaking about Hager solution, up to 2,400. In our application, if we exceed, we split. In other application, you need to take care of the load dimmer type. Okay, what's the type? And you need to make sure you are meeting the standards in your country. What should I look in LED lights to ensure they are dimmable? First, ask your supplier, and then you can check that on the packaging. If it is not, it shall be. It shall be. Speaking about the LED quality or the LED LED, always buy a well-known light. Avoid low cost or cheap solutions. You will have it written on the packaging, dimmable. You will have it on the driver, dimmable. So you can ask first your supplier and then read it yourself to make sure. First thing, you check the power, or you check the type. Is it an RC or normal, or it is a retrofit? Usually, from my experience, I go to the in Hager solution. Okay, depends on what solution you have on hand. Okay, check the power. Okay. How to do tuning and dimming by using 0 to 10 and phase cut. I'm not sure on this question, but I will go back to the type of dimming. The phase cut is on the power line, so it is you just bring the line, the input, you put it in the dimmer as input line, and the phase out or the output, it will go to your lighting circuits, and that's it. Whatever else it is done inside the dimmer, so it depends on the technology inside, it will be tuning the light and the dimmer. In the 0 to 10, you will have 4 wires or 5 wires, depends on your installation. Line neutral, which is connected to a relay or connected to a dimmer, and 0 to 10 volt or 2 control wires, usually 1 mm, red and black, positive and negative. So these are connected to the dimmer, positive and negative, and they are connected to the driver, positive and negative. and it is controlled by a usually potentiometer or usually push button, or depends on the controller you are using. Hopefully, I have answered your question. Okay. Maybe this is related to the
yes, I think that was the next part of the previous question. Indeed, sorry, I didn't display it before. I'll jump to the next question.
It's okay. What was the minimum? What was the minimum level? Thomas, let's go back to the color temperature. Have nothing to do with the color temperature. Have nothing to do with the. In case of fitting, I mean, the color and temperature have nothing to do with the dimmer. There is the DALI tunable white. This is the new technology. We have it in Hager, of course. The DALI tunable white, you can change the color temperature itself. Okay. Hopefully, I got this. Victor, what was the minimum level of dimming you were asked to achieve? Interesting. For me personally, one of the projects that gave me a lot of experience in the dimming application was in Qatar. I was a system integrator and I was the engineer to commission and install the system. It was Nobu restaurant in Four Seasons. I remember at that time there was lighting designers coming from UK, USA, and it's a high-class design. I don't know what to call it. So they asked for 1%. So we achieved 1% with Berker Hager products. It was not LED. It was the 1% load was incandescent, as I remember. So even they didn't agree with 5%. They asked 1%. Imagine this dimming application in such kind of restaurants. 1% here, 3% there. So I took a notebook, a textbook, and I was writing this. They need 1% here, 3%. So the minimum is 1%. I have done it. Yeah. With your system, we can use light that work with DALI and other light work, for example, with yes. We have DALI gateway and we have 1 to 10. Correct. Canex. And Canex and wall-mounted dimmers, and for the DIN rail conventional, it's 1 to 10. Without flickering. Well, this comes to the LED. This comes to the LED. With Hager, okay, in DALI and Sharif, in DALI, it's all the same. It's a DALI protocol. You can go down as much as you can. It depends on the response or reaction of your LED lighting, okay? So in DALI, it's the same. In 1 to 10, it's the same. You go down. In phase dimming, you reduce. You can put it 5%, but you need to look at the LED lighting fitting. So we need to always advise the contractor or clarify it to him that the minimum load in our Hager dimmers, you can open it in the ATS. You can import our product file in ATS. You can check the brightness level and you see how much we can go up and down. This is in phase dimming and in 1 to 10 volt and in DALI. So always it is related to in Hager, we can go up to 5% and less. We told you that we did in Berker, in Nobu, we did 1%. But of course, not for DALI. There is no, not for LED. DSI units, they are not, 10 years back, if you look at 10 years back, you will find DSI. Now, they are a bit not catching up with the lighting fitting industry and the dimmers industry, but no. And honestly, and I'm working in this domain since 2009. So in 10 years or more, I've never found it a DSI ballast or driver to control, even though this technology is available, but it's kind of outdated. I'm not sure. DALI 2 standard. DALI 2 is quite new. It's brand new. DALI 2 is the same as DALI, but with the upgraded features. It is possible, yeah, we have it. DALI standards is there, and DALI tunable white is there. So solution is there, yes. We have DALI sensors. In Hager, we have one presence detector. I'm not sure if you are speaking of sensor as a presence detector or motion detector. We have a presence detector which can control directly to DALI, and not to go through a dimmer. You put a presence detector, ceiling mounted, and you connect it by DALI. It have DALI terminals. You connect it to the DALI devices, and it can control, I think, up to 20 or 24. I'm not sure. So you'll have constant light control. This is what we say, or constant regulation. Can human-centered lighting by using Hager? DALI tunable white, yes. It's new again. This is it's nice to see a lot of professionals up to date like this. Yes, and the DALI tunable white, it is we have this product. Hager can do lighting control without DALI. Yeah. We have phase dimming. We have 1 to 10. We have DALI. I think this is the highest number of questions in our webinars. It's nice to see this response and interest and inquiries for this. We are always actually happy in Hager to provide our solutions and to answer all these questions. We are happy also to receive your inquiries, and we can advise on many solutions.
Thank you, Hussain. Indeed, it was a lot of questions, and there is still one question by Mr. Satyashil Kanindi, but we are running out of time, and so I'd suggest that you answer to this question by email. I will forward you all these questions which are left with no answer. I'm sorry for that. Okay. I would like to thank all the attendees for such proactivity and interactivity in our webinar session. I hope you've liked it. I would just like to encourage all of you to leave, to take a few minutes just after this webinar to give us your advice how to improve the webinar experience, or just to mention how you've loved it and loved the performance of Hussain. Thank you, everyone. And of course, stay tuned with our next webinars from our website, from our LinkedIn account, or from ClickMeeting directly. And there will be many more webinars to come in the coming weeks. At least until end of July, we have a full list of webinars which are under preparation. Thank you. Have a good day ahead. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Thomas.